welcome to the most hated show in the black corner of the internet. I'm your host, the whiteologist, Mr. Blows Your Minds, and this is Black Minds News. Black Minds News is to report, articulate, transmit, communicate, insinuate, develop, investigate, unveil, decode, spread the news, whether it's by news, video websites, or quotes from publications. As I articulate this information, I accept the creator of the universe, be here, heart, soul, mind, and spirit, because why? The truth don't need no partner. As a descendant of the greatest people who created this place that we call the United States, we, the foundational black Americans, the bloodline, the historical lineage, the historical people known as slaves, who we call ourselves the BADOS, Black American Descendant of Slaves. Some say Black African Descendant of Slaves. Others say ADOS, American Descendant of Slaves. We, today the children, offspring, and present generation, we give honor to our ancestors. You know what the motto of this show is? I'm never going to tell you what I heard. I'm only going to tell you what I know. Today's date, August 14, 2019. Again, things are happening in this country on the daily. Some people who we see on the constant seem to be the culprit. But I bet you that you didn't know that what is most obvious to everybody seems to be less obvious to others, and seem to be like they the ones who the problem is. What are you talking about, Mr. Blurman? Well, did you hear how the Young Turk, those who will be watching news around here, the Young Turk over there had came across some information that seemed to say that it got leaked. And what it said in the article and what it's talking about pertains to you and I, specifically those who have what we consider black pride. Those of us who feel like we need to grab ourselves by our own bootstraps and make the best of the situation. For some odd reason, as much as that sounds like the good thing to do, that is an honorable thing to do as a people, but in somebody's playbook, that is an act of war. Let me say that again. Self-reliant, self-independent, having no strings and ties to other people, and being self-preservation of self and that of kind and nation is an act of war. And those who possess that kind of spirit are deemed BIE, Black Identity Extremists. Since of 2017, they say that this particular classification of people are on the top priority for counterterrorism in this land. Have you heard anything about any of these groups doing out in some of the things that you're seeing lately? Well, we're going to look at this and figure out what they talking about in there. So again, this is Black Minds News, and stay tuned for this broadcast. Hey, how's y'all doing? Once again, this is your host, Mr. Blows Your Minds, and this is Black Minds News Report. First and foremost, I want to say what's good to my fam, subscribers old and new. How y'all feeling today? Hope everything's going well. Your day is doing well. Black MINDZ News want to first and foremost tip our hat, bow to you, prostrate, and say thank you for your participation, for coming and listening to Black MINDZ News. Passerbys, if you should just happen to be searching on your search engine, somehow your search engine and GPS and got you off track, took you down a dead end, because that's why this is the most hated show in the black corner of the internet. It's tucked away, stuck in a corner, hidden, piled up so no one can see it, and somehow you stumbled over here. Welcome over here. Always EEOC, we always welcome anybody. Again, we always got a grand opening over here. Go down the aisle, see some things that you might like, but if you just happen to see something that make you feel a certain way, just remember that the motto of the show is the truth don't need no partner. Now again, the reason why we're the most hated show in the black corner is because again, we used to get 275,000 views, 50,000 views, 30,000 views, 20,000 and so forth. Today in 2019, we can't get 100 views, yet they stick me at 29, 30, 40, okay, 2,930 to 40 subscribers only, cannot go up nor down, and I can't get but 100. So you tell me, am I the most hated show in the black corner internet? So anyway, let's get into today's story. Now, again, as I avidly read and seek out stories to present for on this channel here, I came across this here that they're talking about. That, matter of fact, let me go ahead and put it on the screen for you so you can see. Let me go ahead and do that first. How about I do that first? Let me do that first. It wouldn't be right if I didn't do that. So let me go ahead and show you. Right? It says FBI ranks black identity extremists bigger threat than Al-Qaeda. White supremacists leaked documents. I'ma say that again. FBI ranks black identity extremists bigger than Al-Qaeda. White supremacists leaks documents. That snake. So, can you believe that? That black identity extremist. Now, what is a black identity extremist? Right? We got to find out what these things is that people classify, especially when it comes to us, the most docile, non-violent, maybe talk some good shit, maybe go out there and march, but as into being destructive, and where do anybody come up with this as some kind of ideology for black Americans in this land? So we got to figure out, yes, classifying this, you're saying this, but it's just like a cloak and cover, right? You're trying to divert it off of, we ain't going to talk about that over there, we're going to talk about you, right? And let's see what was said in this, and let me go ahead and read it to you, right? Let me go ahead and read it to you. It wouldn't be right if I didn't do that. So check this out. Let me read this. Check it out. FBI ranks black identity extremists bigger threat than Al-Qaeda. White supremacist leaked documents. You know I'm going to say that again. FBI ranks black identity extremists bigger threat than Al-Qaeda. White supremacists leaked documents. Now, this story here is coming out of Newsweek, right? And this came out 8/8/2019. And this is how it reads. Leaked FBI documents indicate black identity extremists and animal rights activists are among the agency's top counterterrorism priorities under President Donald Trump. The FBI priority list documents obtained by the Young Turks Thursday laid out the Bureau's 2018 fiscal year focal points in counterterrorism, cyber crime, and counterintelligence. The 2018-19 threat guidance documents describe Black identity extremists, which is BIEs, as those who use force or violence in violation of criminal law in response to perceived racism and injustice in American society. The files claim some BIEs acted in hopes of establishing a separate Black homeland or autonomous Black social institutions, communities, or governing organizations within the United States of America. An internal FBI report from August 2017 was widely criticized for using the BIE label, which many called racist. But the Consolidated Strategy Guide documents leaked this week show that the FBI kept the term and made BIEs one of its top counterterrorism priorities. Under the Trump administration, they considered a bigger threat than terror groups such as Al-Qaeda. Animal rights, environmental extremists, and anti-authority extremists were also deemed top essential threats. Under a cryptic strategy titled Iron Fist, the leaked documents suggest the Bureau plans to use infiltration and other undercover techniques to mitigate threats posed by Black extremist groups, including exploiting the felony status of some members. Other language label Black extremists as racist themselves, likely to target civilian and government entities they are perceived as oppressors, including but not limited to law enforcement officers, the United States government, members of rival BSE, Black supremacist extremist groups, and individual based on race, ethnicity, sexual orientation, and religion, reads one section called Key Domain Entities. The document shows the FBI wrongly projected there would be attrition and declining membership within white supremacist and national extremist movement over the past years. And in reference to white supremacy, the document reads, some RMVEs, racially motivated violent extremists, are driven by belief in the superiority of the white race and a perception that the United States government is conspiring with Jews and minority populations to bring about the race demise. The 2020 threat guidance document states the FBI has also begun using racially motivated extremism as a watered down label for white nationalist groups. In the document leaked to the Young Turks, the FBI sought to lower the threat impact by BIEs and identity who is recruiting or facilitating such groups in the United States. The FBI judges some RMVEs perceptions of police brutality against African Americans served as justification for premeditated retaliatory violence against law enforcement in 2016. Okay, now that's what they're reading according to the Newsweek. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you over to, it says another is called SOLAN. Now while I read this, because it says something entirely a little bit different, and so I want to show you this, but at the same time I also want to show you as I go along. I may try to and put that in there. So let's see how I do this first. Let's do this first. So it says again, leaked document shows FBI targeted post-Ferguson Black identity extremists over white supremacists. Let me say that again. Leaked document showed FBI targeted post-Ferguson Black identity extremists over white supremacists. Now this story came out actually today, August 14, 2019. And it says FBI planned undercover operations aimed at infiltrating Black extremist groups after 2014 Ferguson violence. The FBI ranked black nationalists and animal rights activists as bigger threats than white supremacists and terror groups like Al-Qaeda among the official counter-terrorism priorities, according to leaked FBI documents obtained by the Young Turks. The documents show that the FBI official Consolidated Strategy Guide, which lists the Bureau's counterterrorism priorities, continue to focus on black identity extremists well after the Bureau assured Democrats in Congress that it would stop using the term after a 2017 internal FBI report that included the phrase was published by Foreign Policy. In 2018, strategy guide obtained by the Young Turks, Ken Kleppenstein, the FBI not only used the term, but referred to black identity extremists as a priority domestic terrorism target. The documents did not mention any specific attacks, though it did list examples of high-profile white supremacist attacks, which were ranked as lower priority. In 2019, the FBI did replace the term black identity extremist with the term racially motivated extremism. According to the fiscal year 2018 through 2020, counterterrorism strategy guides obtained by the Young Turks, despite the new term, the threat guidance still include black racially motivated extremism in the definition. Racially motivated extremism generally includes white racially motivated extremism, previously referred to as white supremacy extremism, and black racially motivated extremism, previously referred to as black identity extremism, the document said. In 2020, the FBI changed the term again to racially motivated violence extremism, but still included most of the previous definition for black identity extremism. RMVEs, which is racially motivated violent extremists, use force or violence in variations of criminal law in response to perceived racism and injustice in American society, or in an effort to establish a separate black homeland or autonomous black social institutions, communities, or government organizations within the United States, the 2020 guide said. According to previous guides, the FBI believes that the threat originated from the Black Lives Matter movement in response to the 2014 shooting of Michael Brown in Ferguson, Missouri. The FBI judged BIE perception of police brutality against African Americans have likely motivated acts of premeditated, retaliatory, lethal violence against law enforcement. The 2018 guide says the FBI first observed this activity following the August 2014 shooting of Michael Brown in Ferguson, Missouri, and the subsequent acquittal of police officers involved in that incident. The 2018 guide also revealed that the FBI intended to counter the threat of black identity extremists with the operation called Iron Fist, which includes undercover operatives. It is challenging to get sources into BIE groups due to security measures these groups employ. The vetting process and time investment to gain access to leadership in BIE groups is very lengthy. The use of undercover employees and online covert employees in BIE investigation will provide valuable intelligence to assist in mitigating the threat. Iron Fist will accomplish this by identifying actionable intelligence to directly support the initiation of FBI investigation and augmented current events or efforts direct against BIEs. In addition, FBIHQ works to develop potential CHS, which is confidential human sources, and conducts assessments on the current BIE CHS base. Many BIEs are convicted felons who are prohibited professors. Therefore, the FBI continues to use their prohibited professor status as a tactic to assist in mitigating the threat for potential violence. While the FBI designated black identity extremists as priority threat, the same document referred to white supremacist extremists as a medium threat. The term was later rolled into the racially motivated extremism term in 2019. Though the racially motivated extremism term was used to label black identity extremists, All the incidents of violence cited as example in the guide refer to attacks carried out by white supremacists, such as the synagogue shooting in Pittsburgh, Poway, California, and the mosque attacks in Christchurch, New Zealand last month. FBI Director Christopher Wray said that the majority of domestic terror cases the agency was investigated or has investigated are motivated by some versions of what might be called white supremacist violence. Despite the rise in white supremacist violence, the FBI predicted in 2018 guide that the threat posed by white supremacists would only decline. The FBI further judged ongoing attrition of national organized white supremacist extremist groups will continue over the next year, yielding a white supremacist extremist movement primarily characterized by locally organized groups, small cells, and lone offenders, the guide says. Infighting and lack of leadership have made it difficult for groups to organize nationally and to sustain their memberships and influence. The internet and the emergence of social media has also enabled individuals to engage the WSE movement without joining organized groups. The American Civil Liberties Union warned in a statement that there is no indication that Iron Fist or any other program used to target black people for surveillance has been dismantled. The Black Identity Extremist label is baseless. And earlier this year, Bureau Director Ray testified that the label is no longer in use. But based on these documents, it appears that the FBI simply renamed the label, said Nusrat Chaudhry, Deputy Director of ACLU's Racial Justice Program. These documents suggest that the FBI under Trump continues to prioritize criminally black dissent while minimizing the threat of white supremacy. All right. So we're back, right? So there you go. There you have it, right? So let's look at this. Now, can you believe that? That black identity seems to be radical in a way that has got the attention of those within the system who deem that your self-reliant, your independentness, trying to galvanize to have a nation in one movement to do some things, whether it be politically, communally, if that's a word, right? Community-wise, right? Communal, right? And so forth. That this is a no-no. Somehow, based on the history that we know about, as they say, white supremacists, and the origins and the history of that organization, here's an organization that they just need to start picking up as of 2017 or 2014. And they say that the Black Identity Extremists is bigger than Al-Qaeda and the white supremacists. Wait, what? Bigger than Al-Qaeda and white supremacists. We bigger than both of them combined together. Now, who is pulling whose leg here, right? You have nothing of history other than they may talk about the Black Panthers, right? But when you really look at what the Black Panthers did, they stood for self-defense. They might have done it in a way that may not have been palatable in the mouth of white folks, carrying guns in the open. Maybe they didn't need to do that, right? But primarily, policing the community, trying to keep out certain elements, providing education and knowledge to the young ones and feeding them and stuff. So that part seems to never be talked about. It's all about the one aspect, about a certain aspect that had happened, right? And so we're going to use this as the catalyst to deem everybody, because again, we see today with social media, again, because of social media, most of the stuff that we as black people talk about are in the open. We're in the public. We're not hiding because we have no venues and places. Again, there are certain institutions that are considered black institutions, but probably the most radical one that they deem as radical would probably be the Nation of Islam, right? They would think, because again, you see how Minister Louis Farrakhan has been, deemed and stamped as somebody who spits a lot of vitriol. But again, it just depends on what side of the coin you on. So you go again, like I say on this show here, the truth don't need no partner. And sometimes the truth is going to rub. It ain't going to be no sometimes. I ain't going to tell you what I heard. I'm going to tell you what I know. The truth rubs you in the wrong way, especially when it's being thrown at you. You get what I'm saying? And so when somebody who is constantly revisiting, retelling, espousing, and they said take this rock and throw it at a crowd of dogs, and sometimes you're only hitting one dog, but when you're hitting all the dogs, all of them yelling. So this is disturbing to a lot of people because, again, because of social media, because of the unrevealing of a lot of the hidden facts and truths that have been out there, now it cannot be smothered. You have to hear it. And so because you can go into the black corner of the internet, of your liking, of your choosing, excuse me, and you can hear all kinds of different types of truths that reverberate in the spirit of different peoples of BADOS and ADOS. It's not all about radicalism, about kill the white man, because I don't know what group really goes out and says kill the white man. I don't hear that. Not even if you want to take the most radical group that you deem, they may say that white man is the devil. They may teach about the origins and Yakub, and they may teach all that. But no one is actually saying going out and actually don't have any record of history of going out attacking white people. So it's your ideology that seems to be extremist, pro-black, right? Pan-Africanism, right? These things seem to be radical in a way to either because maybe it's the guilt, the fragility of mind, knowing what history, I gotta take some water, knowing what history has shown and knowing that you're seeing a certain kind of spirit in people, you're assuming that these people are looking at you to attack you. When really all they're trying to do is get the foot off the back or the neck of them so that they can, again, the phrase that had been so popularized when our brother, now esteemed elder now, when he said he can't breathe. Ed Gardner, I can't breathe, right? So black people seem to be those, not those who are attributed into a part of the system and found some niche to be able to suck off the titty of the system. Those who cannot get in that are trying to take the foot off the back so that they can breathe. And because it is being self-evident that it is slowly matriculating and becoming that, people want to say that this in itself is a revolution and this is radicalism and we must stop it before it gets to a point that we can't. So what somebody had the grandiose idea to say, well, we're going to go ahead and classify this because, again, look at who the poster is when it comes to really supremacists in this land. It's never been black folks, have never been a supremacist. They've only tried to get in a position to get rights and according to what the mantra, or no, what the marquee says what it's supposed to entail. And they've been fighting ever since that. But again, like a trout going against the stream, trying to get to that has been the fight the whole time. And now that it's, again, just certain battles that these other people are fighting besides this, they're fighting the internal of existence because of the lack thereof of producing self. So they got a timeline, and because of that timeline, they're thinking that your whole agenda is to get me. And we're not thinking about getting you. We're just trying to get ours. You understand? Let me say that again. As much as you put so much energy and effort thinking that black folks is out to get you, No. We just trying to get ours. You understand? You remember when it was said that we come to collect the check that you bounce? That's all that is. But see, again, people's ideology knows that they don't want to admit the fact that you getting money, you getting in the position of comfort and not have to be, again, as they said, they emancipated us. Remember, emancipation means what? That the child been relinquished the duties from the parent so the child can be independent. It's as good as that sound, but in actuality, in reality, and coming to fruition, the parent is getting jealous, like some people we may have know or might be, when people see somebody who they reared and they're coming into their self, they becoming self-reliant, independent from you, and got everything going, and you looking at them side-eye because they seem to God that they don't need you anymore. And some people rear their children so that their children will be dependent on them. That's a form of control, right? The kind of a control. But when you have that child that really don't need that from you, some parents have problems with their children because you seem to think you bigger and better than me. And so there's a little animosity. And so that's what it seemed to be here. So again, here you are as the poster of what you said extremists and the radicalism of white supremacy is. Somehow you want to change the poster. You cannot take the poster when it shows oneself as that. I still have to believe that you're it because I came up with all kind of other stuff as these articles talked about. Now I said accordingly that this documents got leaked, right? It got leaked out. Well, really? Did it get leaked out or did they wanted it out so that we would be having the discussion about it to try to say, well, what the hell are they talking about? Now, again, I'm going to just say this. I just think that a lot of this got to do with trying to divert us from, again, we in August. I don't know how many people are talking about, again, the 400 years. And again, maybe a lot of this, again, I just did the story prior to this one, right, was about Kamala Harris and Elizabeth Warren talking about, well, Michael Brown was murdered. Now you're going to have people diverting, going over there talking about this. Now you got this one coming, BIE, talking about, well, black people, they ranked high with the FBI as black identity extremists is bigger than Al-Qaeda and white supremacists. Huh? So what is this? You trying to, you understand? You trying to classify, put us in something that is the boogeyman. It don't even exist. Somehow we're trying to find this square hole to fit in this round peg to make it fit because, again, you don't have the substantial evidence to prove what you say. So what you're going to attack now is the ideology. Saying that black and want to be black and marry black and have children somehow and build my own and thrive and make my money and then take it and build. And you're hearing in these channels young brothers talking about being successful and what they want to do, how they want to come together. You understand? So this is threatening in a sense that it's not like we're out going to attack anybody, but it's just you're trying to, again, cut the leash off from the massa. And so somehow, they say that this goes from 2018 to 2020. We were on the priority list next to the animal rights group. Isn't that something, right? we right there. Now, we know some of them, they're a little crazy about that. But how do you equate those who activists about for animals versus who we as BADOS, ADOS, and the history we've been through and all that we have been fighting to try to get ourselves some of the American pie, some of the American dream, that somehow we're being classified as a radical idealist because we're trying to do this. We become extremists now. Now, are there groups out here? Maybe there's some that we just don't know about. Again, you have not identified none. You haven't said at least none of this article that we could see. And so they said that, let's say this. Let's do this. Because they said the autonomy, right? Now, think about that, the autonomy. Now, when you say the autonomy, this is what you're saying. I'm going to give you all the words. You know, Mr. Blows Your Mind will come once in a while. Today, I'm probably going to do more than just one, right? And so when you say autonomy, you're talking about the independence. You're talking about the freedom, the liberty, the self-determination, self-direction, the self-government, the self-rule, home rule, self-legislation, allodium, self-governed community. See? You're trying to do something and they deeming it as something that I don't really want you to be independent from me. You know how some people will try to sell us and tell us, you need to pull yourself and do like we're doing, pull yourself by the bootstrap. They say that as a figurative of speech, but in application, that ain't what they really want you to do. Let me say that again. You hear people been saying, you need to pull yourself by the bootstrap, get off welfare, right? Then now that you're trying to do that, now say it's not going to be the entirety, but there's a segment of that portion of population of that nation who are trying to do all those things to make themselves become, as you just said, autonomous. They're trying to be independent. They're trying to get freedom. They're trying to get liberty. They're trying to get self-determination. They're trying to get self-direction. They're trying to get self-government. They're trying to get self-rule. They're trying to get home rule. They're trying to get self-legislation. They're trying to get self-governing communities. But that's not what you really want. You want them to be dependent. You want them to be on welfare. That way it makes somebody feel good that you have to be dependent. And that makes me better than you. See? So some people say that history just repeats itself over and over again. But somebody and some people are trying to rewrite history in a way that not letting you write the story for me. They're trying to self-write their own history. Right? You got people writing books. You got people teaching certain ideology. You certainly got certain ways trying to become healthy and right? But that's not the traditional way of the way that we want you to be, because the way we want you to be, then we can control the outcome. So you're trying to be self-reliant is what they say. And so they say we are the top counterterrorism priority. Damn, we the top counterterrorism priorities? That's crazy when you think about it. You threw us in there with Al-Qaeda. You threw us in there with the people who actually, our history, have done a lot of damage to us. When did we become better than it? Where is the evidence that shows we've done all these things? So you got to question that, y'all. Right? So again, this information is coming out obtained by the Young Turk, which is that Ken Kleppenstein, right? Young Turk, for those who might be watching that, right? And so again, it said labeling blacks in 2017 as the BIE. That they came up with they say a cryptic, I think it was a cryptic code called Iron Fist. You know, now a lot of us as black people know we used to go back in the day, go to the movies. Well, you young ones might be hearing this. Back in the day, you can go to the movies for $1.75. See 3 movies all day for $1.75. Huh? Them kung fu movies. Who know what I'm talking about? Huh? You from where I'm from? You go in there and movie for $1.75 and watch 3 kung fu movies all day. There was a movie called Iron Fist back then too, wasn't it? Right? Now Iron Fist, this motherfucker killing motherfuckers with that shit, right? Kind of like Mr. Hun and Into the Dragon. He didn't have an iron. Well, he did fuck up Jim Kelly. And again, I'm always going to say that Jim Kelly probably had the worst damn killing scene ever in the history of cinema. And that was by Bruce Lee, right? You know how Bruce Lee, after Mr. Han, one hand motherfucker with the Iron Fist, beat the hell out of him and then hung him and put him in acid. I ain't never seen no death other than marked for death when Screwface threw him down the elevator shaft and all that and squeezed his head and the juice came out. You understand what I'm saying? So anyway, so Iron Fist is the category that they're calling. This is the term that they're using as the code, Iron Fist, right? And so, with this Iron Fist, the object was for them to infiltrate into these organizations. So I would say that some of these organizations where you have a black ideology, where it is talking about, again, some of those things that they say autonomous, trying to be on their own, do all these other things, right? And so they said that they wanted to infiltrate under these undercover techniques, right? That's what they want to do. They want to imply some of these techniques, but they were saying, it's kind of hard for us to infiltrate. You know why it's hard? Because again, you're going to have to find some sellouts today. Now, back in the day, in the 50s and 60s, they was called the ghetto posts. And I'm saying y'all might know that. It was the ghetto posts. So a lot of the taverns, bowling alleys that were ran and owned by black people, a lot of them were actually, people who were working on both sides. Because when you come to find out about a lot of stuff with Martin Luther King, there was a lot of people being infiltrated, right? Matter of fact, even when Malcolm, you know what I'm saying? There were just people there that was not really in your best interest, right? And so they use a term that said to mitigate it, right? They said mitigate it. Now, I got to tell you what mitigate, because sometimes you hear me say the mitigated goal, and people like to say things, right? So let me go ahead and break down what they said in that article. They talk about the mitigated. So they're saying that it is mitigated is to be alleviate, reduce, diminish, lessen, weaken, abate, let up, slacken, remit, relax, ally, a sausage, temper, relieve, ease, soften, cushion, mollify, lighten, hush, lull, solace, console, succor, remedy, quell, shake, deaden, dull, obtune, blunt, take the edge off, smother, check, curb, tame, subdue, moderate, temper, make, allowance, modify, qualify. Okay? Now, that's what they want to do when they infiltrate it. So, let's say that an organization has been around a long time. Let's just say, for instance, the Nation of Islam. How many agents are in the Nation of Islam? Right? Gotta ask yourself that. Because again, according to this idea, they've been doing it. And again, prior to what they're saying today, when they're calling this Iron Fist or calling it BIE, those who know, COINTELPRO. Right? So this is like COINTELPRO 2.0. Right? And so they want to infiltrate to divert and change the ideology to soften it and make it so not so strenuous as to, if they're not talking about fighting you, attacking you, if all they're trying to do is be self-reliant and independent and not to be sucking off the tit of you, how is that to be extremists? You understand? So that means that somebody psychologically, again, we depend on you, but we don't want you to understand that, right? Our whole existence is based on the simple fact that you being in a detriment state. Now, it may not be the vast of you, because we're going to take the ones that got any talent and we're going to bring them in and make the money off of them. We're going to give them a life. They're going to be better than you. But the rest of you in the pot liquor there, we're going to make money off of you too. As long as we can have that, then this is called democracy, right? As long as we got you down here, some on welfare, some in and out of jail, some, you know what I'm saying, in decadent state, going in and out of these jobs. That makes judges got jobs, police got jobs, states, all of them got jobs because of your detriment. But if you try to clean it all up, as I say, like the Nation of Islam, talking about they take a man and bring him in and clean him up. Now he's taking care of his family. Now he's working. You know, he's doing all these things, right? But that's not good for business. Remember, again, what it said in the Willie Lynch letter said, breaking the horse and the nigger. It's not good economics if the nigger is in its natural state. So here you are trying to formulate, transform into your natural state, and they don't want you to do that. What are you trying to do? Huh? You think you better than me? So, if they get to infiltrate in and they taking notes, they're trying to exploit the felony status of some of the members. So again, those who get locked up, you find out, you end up become a 5%er, Nation of Islam, all kinds of different kind of ideologies when you get locked up, right? If you don't want to be in the gang, you're trying to get up out the gangs, right? You're trying to grow a little bit, get a little bit mature, trying to find some new knowledge and new ways how to do stuff. You find them. So a lot of times that's where a lot of people are coming from out of those situations. They're trying to make that change. So what they're going to do when they infiltrate, they're going to use that to their advantage. That way, now that I know that you a felon, and if I grab you up and somebody, if you go back, let's say you're in California, you got 2 strikes, you in there for life if I get you back in there. So let's work a deal out. Why don't you, tell me some information, what I need to know. You understand? So that's how they might be using that. Now, again, to use the language label blacks extremists as racist. Wait a minute. Black folks don't own nothing to control to make nobody not be able to do too much of nothing. The few businesses and the things that we do own collectively do not have no, let's say, detrimental effect to any other nation of people. Now, as a business, if I have a hardware store and you need something, and it's dire to get your air conditioner fixed and you need certain thing, and I prohibit you from doing it, well, it's not the end of the world. You just find another place that you can shop at. But when you own, and I can deter you from working, I can lock you up by the policies and laws, and I can do all these things. How can black people be racist? If you want to say bigots, right? Stuff like that, that might be. But to say racist, to have institutions where we can deter and make people's life a living hell, black people don't have that. No power of that. See? But see, it seems like somebody who's in the position like that don't want to be recognized as that and seem to find always trying to be deflective to get this shit off me to put it somewhere else. Never on me. It's got to be you. See, that's why you won't look in the damn mirror. See, you don't want to look in the goddamn mirror, because if you look in the damn mirror, you're not going to like what you see. So you got to find a culprit. And I think you found one according to what y'all believe, but it's not real. It's not real. So they say that the black identity extremists, who they target is government entities that are perceived as oppressors. Wait a minute, hold on. You say that the black identity extremists targets government entities that are perceived as oppressors. Wait a minute. We as the BADOS and ADOS of this land, if anybody knows about oppression, we do in this land. Now, other people come from other places, you know about what you're going, but we talking about in this land. We are the home team on this land. Now, anybody know about oppression, we know about oppression in this motherfucker, right? So ain't no perceived shit. It is or it ain't. Again, in Amistad, when he was talking to Cinque, he said should. What do you mean should? We don't have a word in our language for should. Either you do it or you don't, right? So ain't no perceived. Wait a minute. Oh man, no, let me go ahead and do it, because let's get a good understanding. When you say perceived, right? Let me go on and do that, because again, see, that's the thing you got to understand. People play in the wording. They play in the wording. And so until you understand the words that they're using, then you have to say, wait a minute, man. What do y'all mean by that? Why are you using that word? Right? So let me go ahead and tell you. Let me go ahead and give you perceived. right? Let me see if I got that right quick. All right, so let's go ahead and proceed, right? So when they say perceived, this is what they saying. Intuit, sense, intuitive. Intuit. Sense, feel, find, be cautious of, be aware of, hear, smell, taste, see through, delight, make out, note, spot, sight, catch, sight of, glimpse, discern, behold, observe, notice, espy, describe, remark, discover, witness, identify. So again, there's many more to that. We don't perceive shit. It is what it is. The thing is, will you admit the fact that a lot of the policies have been to the detriment of the people that you call them BIE? Are they? And when have you seen any group attacking the government? Wait a minute. Maybe the fact that you're trying to now say that you're talking about reparations and you're talking about we're not just going to go with the chicken dinner and just take my damn vote. We're saying no, in exchange for what you promise is what you're going to get. So now we're trying to play the game that everybody else playing the game and everybody getting upset. So now you want to classify us as we some extreme black identity extremists. Because we're playing the game the way you're playing the game and you don't want that. Right? So there's no perceived about that. Either it is or it's not. And say that they, perceive, they say, well, law enforcement officers. Now, wait a minute. Are there incidences where there's an encounter between police officer and, let's say, a civilian, right? Let's say it that way. And so sometimes there is between black and white, and sometimes there will be people, when it be a people of color, that end up maybe killing a cop, right? But if we was to keep score, I don't believe that the score on the left side as a black civilian is higher than when you take it from, even if you want to say that the system has exonerated, made it somebody not to be guilty. I don't think if we was go through all the cases and stack those numbers, that the black civilian side would have more. I don't believe that. Now, if somebody want to, show me the data and show me that, oh, see, there's the data. Okay. Then I have to say, I'll come back and I'll recant that. But I don't think just being around for a period of time, have heard stories, but I think I've heard way more stories on the other side than I heard on this side. So it's not that anybody is going after the government because of the oppressiveness of that. The only way that you can come to any kind of fighting towards it, again, is what you're trying to do now. Again, I just said the other day, black folks only been in the political arena, in the system, for 13 presidents. Huh? That's 52 years, right? That's it. Going on, this next one will give us our 14th president. That black folks have been what you consider legally, and then even in that, you have to come every 50 years to whether say if you're going to allow us to keep doing it. But you say nothing oppressive about nothing. Why you got to keep re-upping the ones you don't give it? Why isn't that just a given? Why ain't that a given? You want to say, oh, you guys doing this here, but you ain't going to look at what you doing. You're not going to say what you doing. It's all about what you perceive is right. Not what is right, but what you perceive is right. And so, black folks is not targeting police officers. What you think that if Eric Garner was to come back to life, if he know that what he know now, if he came back, knowing what the outcome is, you think he probably now would fight you? Do you think if Castillo would have came, it could come back? And that night, what happened with that police officer? knowing that all if he said what he was doing was going to get his wallet, to give his ID, that you gun him up, knowing what he knowing, would he now defend himself and probably shoot? You understand? So ain't no perceive, it's on the other side, and we're on the defense. Ed Garner being choked out and somebody choking you like that, if he wasn't in the uniform, if he didn't respect the badge, he would have made sure to grab and try to get up out of that. But because of the position he was in and the authority that you had, he did not resist to fight it and lose his life in exchange of that. How are we targeting you? This is guilt of the highest level of the shit you know, that the Bible talks about, the burning wreath on one's head. You can't take it off because it's burning. You can't grab it because it's on fire, but your head is on fire. Huh? That's what this is, man. This is somebody else's guilt, trying to find a way to put it off on somebody else to try to justify the shit that they want to do. Because you know, again, the revealing, the creator is showing it. There is no putting that genie back in the bottle. So you could create all these things for what? To make yourself feel, again, so you can sleep good at night? So it goes on and says that the BSE, which is the black supremacist extremist groups, then they say individuals. Wait a minute. Individuals? People who have certain ideologies about the way they look at things. Wait a minute. What about white supremacists and these so-called lone wolves who doing all this? Where is the black supremacist, the BSEs, you say black supremacist extremists? Where do you have any that goes out doing that? Right? You know what they're going to try to use? They're going to talk about Michael Johnson. That's what happened up in Texas. That's what they're going to say. But again, he was military. He learned this training from you. You get what I'm saying? And so that's what you got to say. Like, wait a minute, man. Oh, he was taught by you. He wasn't just a regular civilian black person. He learned to be a trained killer from the institution that trained to be in their organization. And somehow he internalized what his position and how he looked at it, and he did what he thought, what he needed to do. No one has followed suit with that. You understand? No one's followed suit with that. So you have these, again, sporadic little couple individuals, and you try to lump us all in there. And there's no way. There's no way. This crazy that you're even trying to do that. It's crazy. So, again, they use the word attrition, right? They use the word attrition. Now, the definition of the word attrition says this. Now, they were saying this not towards black identity extremists. They're talking about the white supremacists. Now, remember, they said that they didn't focus on them because the attrition. Now, let me show you what attrition is, so those who may not know what attrition is. Now, the definition of attrition is this. It says that sorrow for one's sins that arises from a motive other than that of the love of God. The act of rubbing together, friction, the act of wearing or grinding down by friction, the act of weakening, the result of resignation, retirement, or death. So, according to them, the FBI was saying, well, the white extremist groups are dying out. They're not the same anymore, right? They done changed. And so, I have to check something, y'all. And so, no need to put our focus on them. We're going to focus on these black identity extremists. And yet, somehow, this same group of FBI that I told y'all that I didn't do the story of said that, what's the name of that? Stormfront. All of them that they were surveillance and all that stuff that was going over there, somehow, mistakenly, they lost all the information about everybody who they were watching. They don't know what happened to it. It just mysteriously disappeared. Right? And you know, in Europe, in Germany, they have been reformatting themselves back up there. Because again, you know how Europe has done, again, kind of like going through that whole thing about what happened in 7/11. So they starting to formulate together. Now, one thing, they say one thing, but then the other one's doing, they're not trying to really, they're not trying to really put too much focus on that. And then we've been seeing lately people coming out and doing mass shootings. And then you come to find out manifestos and ideologies that they got. What? Okay, so now, in contrast to that, show us the black identity that you see that same shit happening with. You're not going to find it. It don't exist. It's the boogeyman. It's basically what it's saying is this. Now I'm going to take it to some real kiddie shit for those who might know. Remember in Sesame Street, Big Bird had a friend. Big Bird only knew the one. He was the one that talked to him all the damn time. Nobody else never seen his friend, but he would talk about him. He'd be like, who are you talking about? Snuffleupagus. Well, who the fuck is Snuffleupagus? I've never seen the dude. Every time I was trying to see Snuffleupagus, he never there. But Big Bird swear down, letting everybody know Snuffleupagus is real. Well, that's what they saying. They saying Snuffleupagus is real. He keep telling you that Snuffleupagus is there. And we, as the people who they talking about, like, who the fuck is Snuffleupagus? Because we don't know who that is. Who you talking about? But see, who is they really selling that to is the question. Who are you really selling that to? Are you trying to tell other people to make them galvanize and get in a position? Because where is the tangible to, line this up and say, this here happened here, this happened here, this here. You know what I'm saying? You can't do that. You don't have that. But you're building it on the simple fact that, again, let me show you something else too. Let me go ahead and do this. I did this once before already. Do you know when they talk about black power, right? Man, check this out. When they talk about black power, right? Black power is a political slogan and a name for various association ideology aimed at achieving self-determination. Now, again, self-determination for people of African descent. It is used primarily, not exclusively by African Americans in the United States. The Black Panther movement was prominent in the 1960s and the early 1970s, emphasizing racial pride. The creation of black political and cultural institutions to nurture and promote black collective interests and advance black values. I'm going to say that again. What part on that right there on black power says anything about kill the white people? Oh, kill the white people. I mean, Eddie Murphy did that on Saturday Night, kill the white people, right? Nothing says that. It's a political slogan. Is associating the ideology of what? Achieving what? Self-determination. It's not exclusively only to black or African Americans. It was used as the Black Power movement, prominent going through the 60s and the 70s, right? It was to do what? The emphasizing was what? Racial pride. What's wrong with pride? What's wrong with having racial pride? Pride of who you are as a people and what you have contributed to the world. What's wrong with that? Huh? Creation of black political. What's wrong with having people that would represent us if this was, again, is about using the political and using it in a way that, again, so that you can get your allotment again, because if everybody is getting their share, why is it wrong for us to have people to come in there to get our share? Cultural institution to nurture and promote black collective interests. What's wrong with us having a cultural institutions? What's wrong with us promoting self-confidence, who we are, proud of who we are? Why you can have it and we can't have it? Advance black values. Why we can't have values? The basic black power is various ideologies that aim at achieving self-determination. Black people in the United States, Black Power states that you create your own identity despite other life factors. See? Trying to get your own shit despite the fact that you're being oppressed, red line, racial tension, hatred, all that. Again, we just did the other day with Donald Trump talking about grave oppression, grave injustices. Despite all that, still trying to find a way to make life the best you can in it. So also that Black Power expresses a range of political goals. From defense against racial oppression. What's wrong with that? If you being oppressed by something, shouldn't you have a defense? Isn't it just self-preservation is number one? Somebody trying to take you and harm you, isn't it right for you to defend yourself? That is a God-given right. But when you do it, there's always something wrong in it. So, establishment of social institutions. What's wrong with us having institutions that are based with our culture, our preference, our people? What's wrong with that? You have it. Including what? Self-sufficient economy. What's wrong with us having to make our own economy where our own people can make our money and not have to be relied on you? And that way we ain't getting fired. We don't go through the same shit, being fired, last one hired, first one fired. I'm having all this racial discrimination, got to go through all this shit because you don't like me. And I could just deal with my own. What's the problem in that? So including Black-owned bookstores, cooperatives, farms, and media. What's wrong with that? See, you have to look at yourself to ask yourself, what's wrong with that? Okay? So, they said that the movement was criticized for alienating itself from the mainstream civil rights movement. Now, it said apparently some of the racial segregation and for constituting Black superiority or the races. Black superiority. How could Black people in the United States, after the history they've been in, could say they superior over other people? You know what it is? What Black people had to do is had a Black renaissance. They start getting educated, start learning about self and history and stuff. And what they come to find out in science and all that. And what they come to find out is they was the first people. They come to find out in science that something that they have called melanin, the key of life, you hold that in you. When other people are studying it, trying to find a way to make an artificial synthetic form of it, you got it naturally. So, is it because it breeds a certain confidence that makes you think you're superior? But you don't see no organization out here talking about Black men better than, no, that's not what they do. They just say they the first of. We the first man on the planet, first man and woman on the planet. We have the God elixir, you know? So this things that seem like something of somebody who was just, having problems with self. And now, because of the way you have always dominated and put on us about your supremacy, that the supremacy that you now show that you thought you was is fictitious. Because see, when you're superior, you wouldn't have problems with producing. You wouldn't have to hide and put pH when you're in the sun. See? You wouldn't have to do all the things that you do to suppress and do that. When you're dominant, you're just dominant. And so I have to somehow reverse this and flip it to make it seem like you the boogeyman. When really, when they say you pointing the finger at me, there's 3 fingers pointing back at you. Right? So they go back and they talk about when Richard Wright wrote his book in 1954 about Black Power. This is from one of the first terms. Talking about when Adam Clayton Powell Jr. used the term back in May 29, 1966. He addresses at Howard University when he said that, quoted, to say, to demand these God-given rights is to seek Black power. Right? Black power. Black power. And it's just, again, really when it boils down to it, you know what they're really saying? You know what they're really saying? Slave power. That's all it is. The slaves that we self-evident hold in our head that you will be it perpetually forever is trying to not be a slave anymore. And if you can't be a slave anymore, it does something to me psychologically that now somehow you are equivalent, or maybe you might be better. So in that in itself is a threat, is a revolution. It is war. So again, this is Black Minds News. Just wanted to bring this to your attention because they did put this out there. Again, black identity extremists bigger than the Al-Qaeda and the white supremacists. Hogwash doesn't exist. It's snuffleupagus. Somehow they got to make it real to give themselves to feel good about the shit that they doing. And then you got to also ask yourself, again, remember I just did this story not too long ago, a couple days ago. Remember the sister that was in St. Louis? And they had the interview and talking about who was all up in the department. She said that white supremacists were all up in the department. Not to say all of them, but there's a lot of them in there. So if they're in there, are they in also in those other alphabet organizations as well? So who the ones that formulating and getting this and talking about putting it together and package it and going to say this, and then this one here where we know that it's actually doing it and you can see it and touch it, you can see it. We're gonna that's attrition. That's not that's going away. And then all of a sudden now here they is rearing their head. Now it's a mistake. Oh shit, we're looking at the wrong one at the whole damn time. That's been the whole problem. You've been focused so much on we, and we ain't even focused on you. So again, it's because again, this old saying said, I hate you more because I know I done you wrong. Because I know that I done you wrong. So that hurts me even more knowing that you know that I done you wrong. So again, they call it righteous indignation. So they believe and they know in the true hearts of all hearts. If we was to ever think about that, with all the stuff that you got, righteous indignation might be on our damn side. But again, our people ain't even our people. With all that we've gone through, you got more people trying to find more ways to somehow find a way to be side by side with you. They're trying to be like you. They want to be with you. They do all kind of stuff. Now there's some of they just be like, man, I'm trying to do with mine and be with me and do what I do. And what's wrong with that? You've been doing it all this time in the existence that we've been here. Now that we finally starting to do that a little bit, now you want to stamp and put us as some shit that just to put us in a bad light. But you can't make it work because it's not real. Snuffleupagus. Again, this is Black Minds News. Let me just do this while you're over here. Be right back. welcome back. All right, so again, I want to thank everybody who came by and listened to what we had to present today with the BIE as extremist identity, black identity extremists. You tell me what you think. Is this something they making up, or is this real? Well, after I laid down what I laid down, you tell me what you think. If you want to, if not, like, share, unlike, you know what I'm saying, do what you got to do. So again, I want to thank you for your participation. Remember, when you see one another, greet one another with the words, "What's good, brother? What's good, sister?" Give them the universal nod. Take all that damn hate, jealousy, envy, and spite from you. Understand? We is all in this together. Gotta understand that we are on the same team with the same uniform. You can have allies. Nothing wrong with that. Ask your allies the important question. Are they still willing to be your ally when the shit get hot? Ask them, have they ever heard of John Brown? Is John Brown real to them, or is it some kind of story? So you must stay vigilant, mindful, cautious, and in high spirit. Until the next report. This is Black Minds News, and this is your host, Mr. Blows Your Mind. And thank you for to the next show.